Hey everybody, I want to talk about focus today, and this is a wonderful product, PrimeMyBody. And I know it's wonderful because we got a chance to test this on a lot of really fantastic people. I'm going to show you the actual data. And so, not only am I going to show you the actual data, I'm going to show you some statistics that are behind it, and I'm going to share with you just some very personal stories of observing people through this entire process, and it's been very rewarding for me. And so, let's talk about why we're doing this in the first place. And the reason we're doing this in the first place is because we want to know if something works for real people in real situations. Okay. And so, how do we know if it works for real people in real situations? And how do we even know um, who it works for and why it works? And how fast does it work? Well, you're about to find out, and going to be that is going to be in a discovery process that I'm going to share with you, starting with NFL former players study. And so, what happened was we wanted to look at those people who completed the highest level of competition, right? And the brain health is just so crucial to their careers. And if they're not sharp or they're not with it, and their career could be over a lot faster, their livelihood could be over a lot faster than they want it to be. And brain wellness is even more important after retiring, because we know that the brain can go through a series of different things, and what comes out at the end may not be what's intended. And so these players, we were able to access these players, thankfully, and who have gone through a lot of different situations and support each other, and they're lifelong friends. And it was amazing to see that level of camaraderie, which is something that's very similar to the camaraderie that I've seen working with the military, which I'll get into as well. So, who coordinated this entire study? PrimeMyBody CEO Paul Rogers and former NFL players Brian Jones and Kenyon Rashid. And we got an okay to do a 3-day screening period for 42 former NFL players, and I helped conduct the study, and we recorded them before and after to get some idea of what they were expecting before they started, and after what were their experiences. And what we recorded was not what's expected at all. In fact, it was one of the things I'll never forget in my life, and that's how profound of an impact it was on me. So let's talk about some goals of the NFL observational study. So we want to be able to understand how these former players were dealing with brain health, and really wanted to know the quality of life. And as we started recording these players, we're noticing that a lot of them were saying very similar things. And the technician who was conducting the study is one of my good friends, and has also been in the military, in the Army specifically, and gone through some very, very traumatic events in the past as well. And he told me that listening to these former players and hearing what they're going through after they retire is very similar to his veterans group. And he had chills, he had goosebumps on his arms just listening to them because of how similar it is. And so, how are we really? How does focus really help in this regards? And we wanted to look at their cognitive response. We wanted to look at how fast their brain can be. Look at the attention. Look at visual and auditory response times. Looking and see if they have improvement in markers of memory issues or anything like that. So we're just looking for things and data that we can get using something called a quantitative EEG in an Evoke study. It's a fancy machine. It's computer based, and it gives a mathematical depiction of what the brain is doing under every situation. And so I oversaw the entire thing, and this is and what we are looking for here is to get data and use this data to see if what has been created can work. And so each of the participants had a pre-screen, pre-focus screen. So what that means is that They came, they did a short video for us. They sat down, they took a brain map test, and then they took one milliliter or 1 cc of focus, and they were asked to repeat a similar test shortly afterwards. And when I say shortly afterwards, I mean right away, because we know already from previous studies that focus is supposed to work extremely fast. And it did. And the results were remarkable. So we were seeing improvement in attention markers, something called a theta-beta ratio. And so because they were improving in this, and which is statistically significant, we were able to see that they may be able to improve the brain's ability to perform under stress and sustain attention. And lo and behold, the people who had the most remarkable improvements also said on the video that was recorded right afterwards, like, wow, this is a big difference. The second time, this is, I was able to do these tests a lot better. And by the way, usually what happens if you do the test back to back for people, they do worse the second time, is because you go through what's called a brain fatigue, and you can actually see the fatiguing of the brain on the second test. But for them to actually perform better on the second one is a very eye-opening thing. So once again, this is called a theta-beta ratio, which is basically attention and the ability for the brain to perform under stress. Okay, and then we looked at brain processing speed. And so if your brain was a computer, and the computer has a processor, and the processor can only work with what it's got unless you declutter the junk, all right? And we wanted to see how well focus is able to declutter the junk and have your processor working better. And this is a remarkable improvement in brain processing speed as well. And so, so not that a lot of them had issues to begin with. Most of them were actually normal brain processing speed, but they just got better. So improved the wellness of the brain and the resiliency of the brain. And so, so when those people who had the best brain processing improvements actually texted back and gave us a really wonderful testimonial of how well others perceived them to be, especially their family, shortly, just a few hours after and a few days after, and it was just a wonderful thing. And so we also saw some improvements in visual processing speed. And what that is when someone sees something on the computer, it lights up, the eye receives the information, goes to the back of the brain where the vision is processed. And there's a processing speed that's calculated, and that actually improved as well. Not expected, but I'm very happy it happened. And so what's going on here? Why is this really going on? Why did this focus formulation create this wonderful surprise? And so could it be that this focus formulation is actually a nootropic or nootropic, depending on how you want to pronounce it? And what this is a category of herbs and supplements and medications and even food, okay, that's able to enhance cognition, memory, and facilitates learning. That's exactly what we saw. Not only that, it helped improve the visual reaction time. And so, well, that's fascinating. This is a component of cannabinoids and terpenes that are here, and the purpose was for focus. And we showed that not only did they focus, they did extremely well. And they did extremely well just testing them before and after, sequentially, right after another, without even waiting. So we know it happens fast. We know they feel it because we have the testimonials, and we have we recorded their symptomologies, and we know that it can create a dramatic effect. But how long does it really last? How long does it really last? Well, I'll tell you. So before we did the NFL Former Players Association testing and with these former NFL players, we looked at another population. We looked at this other population of 141 people, and we looked at quality of life. So we chose some quality of life scoring systems like the medical symptom questionnaire, which looks at your lifestyle, your mental health, your pain, your stress, and all this stuff like that, right? And so we gave them this questionnaire, and the higher their scores were, the more toxic or miserable they are. And so we want the scores to decrease. And so in answer to how long does this last, well, guess what? When we gave these people initially, their scores were pretty high. And in month 1, they came down a lot. Month 2, they came down a lot. Month 3, they came down a lot. We only tested 3 months, but I wish we went further. But we had statistically significant decreases in these scores month after month after month. And so we also looked at sleep index, which is how people were sleeping. And we quantify sleep as normal, mild sleep issues, moderate sleep issues, and severe sleep issues. And so we were looking at these people with already a not so great sleep. Once again, month 1, sleep got better. Month 2, sleep got better. Month 3, sleep got better. Significantly. I mean, a score from 18 down to 5 is very significant in something called an ISI, or Insomnia Sleep Index. And this is a very standardized score that's used in neurology and psychology. And so for a lot of neurologists and psychologists out there who's familiar with the ISI, this is a huge improvement. And we don't even see this with pharmaceutical drugs, right? And so perceived stress scale is how one perceives their stress. And that's also in a scoring system as well. Once again, higher the number, the more the stress. So when people start off with a 25, it's actually pretty high. And month 1, they didn't get down to 15. Month 2, they went down to 11. Month 3, they went down to 8. The perceived stress scale is, traditionally speaking, in medicine, one of the hardest things to get down, just because it's so complex. But yet we see it here. And so, once again, I wish we went longer on the clinical trial, but this is a 3-month data, and perceived stress is significantly better as well. So, give you a surprise. What population do you think this was in? This actually was in mainly a military veterans population of United States Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard. We had a select group of people from Special Forces that were in here as well. And so people who are basically heroes of our country, and who are also high performers. And then going through this process and seeing their success stories as they take this and as they're reporting back in is one of the most rewarding experiences I've had, because I listen to what their families are telling me. You know, we have dad back, or I have my husband back, I have my wife back, right? And I have mom back. And it's just a beautiful thing to really hear. And this is really a great tool for just motivation, right? So why is all this important to you, right? Can you think of one person that can benefit from this? I mean, who would you hold back from? Who would you hold this from, right? Knowledge, believe it or not, is not power. Execution is. And so you have to utilize the knowledge that you've learned to see what good you can do. So share this with someone. Share this with someone, and the faster you do it, the more and the faster you can witness a miracle. And I'm not saying that this is guaranteed to give you a miracle. What I'm saying is that small acts can compound into dramatic effect that you will never expect. And that's what I've noticed, and that's what I really picked up from working with PrimeMyBody. Okay? And we use the data from Focus to enhance another process, which is the calming process, the rest and relax, the parasympathetic process, we call it, right? And so we knew that Focus was able to keep people sharp. So we took the components of the Focus that kept people sharp. We took away one of the terpenes, okay, that's able to keep people sharp at that particular time. That can be hyper-focused. We took that away and added in an herbal blend, right? Passion flower, valerian root, lemon balm, to enhance that calm effect. And so this is really designed for that calm state of mind. if someone's already hyped up and they're and this is intended for really that purpose. Or if someone's had issue, they're just lying awake at night, then this is intended for that purpose at nighttime. So it could be taken morning or nighttime. The previous version of this was a little bit too sedating, so I was told, but a lot of people did like it. So we dialed down some of that stuff and dialed up some of the stuff that we know that enhances cognition just from the military veteran study. Just from the NFL former players study, and then we also added in, neurotransmitter supplements. What the heck is a neurotransmitter supplement? Neurotransmitter, neuro or neurons or nerves or brain, and transmitters is the ability for the nerves or the brain to talk to each other, to talk to the rest of the body. So this is called neurotransmitter. All right, and so the way that the body and the brain creates this calming effect is through a series of biochemical processes that I'm not going to go into. But all that series of biochemical processes starts with the L-tryptophan and the L-theanine and all the stuff like that. That's in the blend, and that's what the calm effect is. Okay, we're just starting to look at brains for a small group of people on calm, and we actually did it as calm was being developed. And this is like the 18th or 19th version or something like that. So there's a lot of obsession with quality, a lot of obsession of doing no harm, a lot of obsession with proving that the product can actually work, before it's put out there. That's why sometimes we have delays, but that's okay, because whatever's out there, I can stand behind, because we see that it can work. And so a lot of people ask me, can I use calm with focus? And yeah, and actually a lot of people do really well with focus during the day or calm at night. Some people flip it around and have calm during the day and focus at night. That's a small amount of people, but play around with it. Another thing I do want to mention is, as part of being the Chief Medical Advisor for the company, I have to make sure that things are done safely as well. So we looked at, when we looked at the trials, we also looked at blood work. We make sure that people didn't have any elevated liver enzymes or liver issues, kidney issues, electrolytes, and all those were measured. And we haven't had to stop the trial for anybody, because no one really had any adverse reactions to calm or focus. So, and that's something truly important to remember. Okay, and so, I leave you with this. I leave you with the fact that we have something that's been shown to work in so many different people, and that works fast. Okay. But what I didn't talk about is I didn't go into the molecular structures and liposomals and all this other stuff, because what I think is important for me is that when people use it, it works. That's all I think is important. And I don't think any other company has gone through the obsessive data collection that we have had to prove that this is actually a beneficial thing. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it. Have a great day.